He pushed his wheelchair, signed 2 cold papers and left, a son doctor leaving his own father, 72 with Alzheimer's, in a hurried clinic at 6:43 a.m. The old man's hands trembled as he repeated the same name, and the new bracelet on his wrist, Patient 304, glowed under the neon. The hallway camera recorded a detail that no one noticed. "Doctor, we need to talk." "Tao," said the director, sliding an envelope with 3 photos and a forgotten exam in his father's closet. What was there not only explained the abandonment, as it revealed something so shocking that it put his career and the old man's last memory on the brink of collapse during the wake of a 72-year-old doctor who died waiting for his son to visit him in the nursing home. A nurse makes a shocking discovery that will shake the entire family and prove that some truths are more painful than death itself. Dr. Michael Thompson was immersed in the last details of his surgery when the cell phone vibrated insistently on the table. He ignored it on the first, on the second, but on the third attempt he answered with irritation. "Hello?" The voice on the other end was formal, careful. "Dr. Thompson? This is the director of Sunset Manor, Dr. Patterson. I need you to come immediately." Michael felt a chill down his spine. 3 months ago, she had admitted her father Harold to the nursing home, promising to visit him regularly. But the promising medical career, the endless shifts, the hectic social life, there was always an excuse. "Did something happen?" he asked, already knowing the answer in the tone of the director's voice. "Your father passed away during the night, Doctor. I'm very sorry." The words fell like stones on Michael's chest. The phone slipped from his trembling hand, hitting the floor with a noise that echoed through the empty office. For a moment, the world seemed to stop. "No, it can't be," he murmured to silence. "He was fine the last time I spoke to the nurse." But when was the last time? 2 weeks? 1 month? Michael tried to remember, but the dates blurred in the haze of his frenetic routine. He picked up the phone from the floor with trembling hands. On the other side, Dr. Patterson waited patiently. "Dr. Thompson, is it there? I'm going now." The voice came out hoarse, unrecognizable. "What time did it happen?" "Around 3 in the morning. He had a cardiac arrest in his sleep." It was easy, no problem. The word echoed in Michael's mind as an accusation. His father died peacefully alone, waiting for a son who never appeared. The drive to Sunset Manor flashed like a slow-motion movie. Michael drove on autopilot, his mind bombarded by fragments of memory. Harold teaching him how to ride a bike, holding on tight to the saddle until he gains confidence. Harold working double shifts to pay for medical school. Harold smiling proudly on graduation day. "My son is going to be a doctor," he said to anyone who would listen. "You're going to take care of people like me one day." And what kind of doctor had he become? The type who abandons his own father when he needs care the most. The clinic appeared ahead, a low, cozy building surrounded by manicured gardens. Michael parked in a hurry and practically ran to the front desk. "Dr. Thompson?" The receptionist recognized him immediately. "Dr. Patterson is waiting for you in his office." The director was a middle-aged man, gray-haired, looking gentle but tired. She stood up as Michael entered, extending her hand in a respectful greeting. "My condolences, Doctor. Your father was very dear here. How was it?" Michael managed to ask, sitting heavily in the chair in front of the table. Dr. Patterson sighed. Harold had spent the last few months asking daily when you would come to visit him. Every afternoon he sat at the bedroom window, wearing his only suit, holding a small box. Michael felt his stomach turn. "A box?" The nurses tried to convince him to rest, but he insisted, "My son is going to come today. He promised." The director paused, noting the impact of the words. "Doctor, with all due respect, when was the last time you were here?" The question was simple, but Michael couldn't answer. The weeks were mixed in his mind. When was it really? In hospitalization? Or had he visited once afterwards? My medical schedule is very busy. Surgeries, shifts, emergencies." The excuses came out mechanical, empty. "I see." Dr. Patterson opened a drawer and pulled out a small, shabby wooden box. "Your father asked to deliver this personally. He said it was for the doctor, as he always referred to you." Michael picked up the box with trembling hands. It was light, but it seemed to weigh tons. Inside, he found his old school notes that Harold had kept for decades. Photos of the two together, certificates of merit from school, and in the background, a handwritten letter in trembling handwriting. "To my doctor son, Thank you for making me the proudest man in the world. I've spent my whole life working for you to become someone important. Now I hope you become not only a great doctor, but a great man. I always knew you'd go too far to remember old Harold, but that's okay. I understand. I love you forever, Dad. The tears came at once, uncontrollable. Michael bent his body over the table, sobbing like a child. Dr. Patterson continued gently, Harold wrote this letter on the day he was admitted. Every day I asked if you had come to receive her personally. Did he remember me? Michael managed to ask through tears, Doctor, your father had advanced Alzheimer's. I couldn't remember what I had for lunch. I didn't recognize most of the nurses. I confused day and night. The director paused, loaded with meaning. But he never, not even for a second, forgot his son who was a doctor. He spoke of you with infinite pride every day. Michael completely collapsed, while he used his father's illness as an excuse to walk away. Harold used his last moments of lucidity to show unconditional love. The nurses say that even on the most confusing days, when he no longer knew his own name, he would point to the picture of the man on the bedside table and say, "This is my son." He saves lives. The irony was cruel. Michael saved lives every day in the hospital, but he couldn't save his relationship with the one man who really mattered. Dr. Patterson stood up and walked to the window. You know, Doctor, in all my years running this clinic, I've never seen anyone wait with so much hope. Your father believed until the last day that you would appear. I didn't think he would remember even if I was, Michael admitted, his voice broken. What difference would it make? All the difference in the world. The director returned to the table. Can I show you his room? Michael nodded, unable to speak. He followed Dr. Patterson through the clean, quiet halls of the clinic. Other elderly people greeted them along the way, some lucid, others lost in their own memories. But they all had one thing in common. They were there, abandoned by their children, too busy to remember where they came from. Harold's room was simple, but cozy. A bed, an armchair facing the window, a bedside table with Michael's photo at his graduation. And there on the carefully folded suit, a small card. For when my son arrives, he would have the suit ready every morning, Dr. Patterson explained. He said that when the doctor arrived, he wanted to be well dressed so as not to embarrass his doctor son. Michael approached the window and looked at the parking lot below. How many afternoons did Harold spend there, waiting for a car that never arrived? Dr. Patterson, Michael managed to finally speak, I want to do something. In his name, what do you have in mind? A foundation. To improve care for elderly people abandoned by the family. I want to make sure that no parent dies waiting for a child who never comes. The director smiled for the first time since the beginning of the conversation. I think Harold would be very proud. 2 weeks later, Michael was in his last surgery at the private hospital where he worked. He had made a decision that surprised colleagues and family. He would leave the lucrative surgery to specialize in geriatrics. Have you gone mad? Asked his partner. Are you going to throw away years of career building because of guilt? That's not my fault, Michael replied, putting away his instruments for the last time. It's responsibility. But to fully understand the pain that Michael would carry for the rest of his life, we need to go back 3 months in time, to the day when everything started to fall apart. Harold Thompson, at 72, was still trying to maintain his dignity, even as Alzheimer's stole pieces of his memory every day. He lived alone in the apartment where he raised Michael after his wife's death, surrounded by photographs that told the story of a life dedicated to his family. Michael is going to visit me today, he said to his neighbor, Mrs. Carmen, every morning. My son is a doctor, you know. Too busy saving lives. Donna Carmen smiled patiently. I knew Michael hadn't shown up in weeks. On that fateful Tuesday morning, Harold woke up more confused than usual. He tried to make coffee but forgot the water. I wanted to take a shower, but I couldn't remember how to open the shower. She sat in the armchair in the room, holding up Michael's graduation photograph, trying to sort out her fragmented thoughts. That's when the phone rang. Hello, Dad. It's Michael. Harold's face lit up. My son, how good to hear your voice. When are you coming to see me? On the other end of the line, Michael sighed. He was in the hospital between 2 surgeries, making the weekly protocol call. Dad, we've talked about it. You need special care. I can't keep an eye on it 24 hours a day. But I'm fine here at home. Mrs. Carmen helps me, the doorman too. Dad, yesterday you turned on the stove and forgot. It could have caused a fire. Sunset Manor is the best place. It has doctors, nurses. Harold felt his heart tighten. She had waited all her life to enjoy her grandchildren who never came, to talk to her son on weekends, to be useful in some way. Michael, my son, I promise that I will take better care of myself. You don't need to send me away. It's not sending you away, Dad. It's taking care of you, right? Michael's voice was impatient. Everything is already settled. Go get him tomorrow morning. And will you go with me? Silence. A silence that is too long. Dad, I have 3 surgeries tomorrow, but I'll visit him over the weekend, I promise. Harold knew it was a lie. He could not explain how he knew, but some still lucid part of his mind recognized the tone. The same tone Michael used as a child to promise that he would tidy up his room later. Okay, my son. I get it. After he hung up, Harold stood there holding the phone for too long. Then he got up slowly, went to the bedroom and opened the closet. At the bottom, wrapped in yellowed wrapping paper, was a watch she had bought to give to Michael on his birthday. A simple but expensive Rolex by its standards. He had saved for 2 years. He never had the courage to give. Michael always seemed to be in too much of a hurry for sentimental gifts. The next morning, 2 Sunset Manor employees knocked on the door. Harold was ready, wearing his only suit, holding a small briefcase with his few clothes and the box with Michael's memorabilia. Have you anything else to bring? Asked the nurse gently. No, that's all that matters, Harold replied, clutching the box to his chest. The trip to the clinic was silent. Harold looked out the window, watching the city go by, knowing that it might be the last time. When they arrived, Dr. Patterson received him personally. Mr. Harold, welcome. Your room is ready. Will my son arrive later? Asked Harold, hopeful. Dr. Patterson exchanged a glance with the nurse. Let's wait, okay? The room was small but comfortable. Harold sat down in the armchair facing the window and opened the box. Inside, in addition to the photographs and documents, was the letter he had written the night before. He had written with difficulty, pausing several times when the words fled, but determined to leave something for his son. For when Michael arrives, he murmured, putting the letter back in the box. The hours passed. Harold didn't leave the window. Mr. Harold, don't you want to have lunch? Asked a nurse. I'm expecting my son. He promised that he would come today. The nurse, Carla, had 15 years of experience. I knew that look, the painful hope of those who wait for someone who will not show up. Maybe it's better to get some rest. If he arrives, we'll let you know. No. I'm going to stay here. He's going to come. And it stayed. Until dark. Until the whole clinic fell asleep. Harold remained at the window holding the box, waiting. The next day, the same thing. And the next. And the next. Mr. Harold, Dr. Patterson tried to talk after a week. Why don't you call your son? Maybe he's busy and forgot. He hasn't forgotten. Michael is a doctor. He saves lives. He must be saving someone important right now. When it's done, he'll come. Dr. Patterson sighed. She had tried to call Michael several times, but she always fell on the answering machine. The few times he managed to speak, he heard the same answer. Is everything okay with him? So it's not an emergency. I'll call when I can. Weeks passed. Harold developed a routine. He woke up early, took a shower, put on his suit, combed his hair, and sat at the window. It didn't matter what the weather was, rain, sun, cold. There he stayed, holding the box, waiting. The other inmates began to call him the man at the window. Some made cruel jokes, others felt sorry. But Carla, the nurse, had grown fond of the old man. Mr. Harold, did your son call? He asked every day, knowing the answer. Not yet, but he will call. Michael always keeps his promises. Carla swallowed her tears. I knew Michael didn't care. He knew that the only calls that came in were the medical bills he paid on time, as if that were enough. A month passed. Harold began to become more frail. I ate little, slept badly, but he did not leave the window. Mr. Harold, Carla approached on a rainy afternoon. May I sit with you? Of course, my daughter. Do you want to see my son's photos? Harold opened the box with trembling hands. He showed each photograph, telling the same story he told every day. This one is from his graduation. Look at how proud. My doctor's son. And this one is from when he was 5 years old. He lost his first tooth. Carla listened patiently. He knew every story by heart. Mr. Harold, may I ask you something? Why do you expect so much? Even when he doesn't come? Harold stopped talking. He stared at the graduation photograph for a long time. You know, my daughter, when Michael was little, I worked 2 jobs. I left before he woke up, came back after he slept. He always said, "Dad, are you going to my game tomorrow?" And I always answered, "Yes, I will, son." Daddy promises. Harold paused, his eyes teary, but I never would. There was always something more important, some extra work, something urgent. I thought, he's a child, he'll forget. When he grows up, he'll understand that I was working for him. Carla felt her heart tighten. But he never forgot, did he? Never. When he turned 15, he stopped inviting me. When he turned 18, he barely spoke to me. I thought that over time he would forgive, that when he graduated as a doctor, he would understand that everything was for him. Harold closed the box slowly. Now I'm the one waiting. And I know he won't come, but I need to wait. It's the only thing I can do for him right now. Carla couldn't hold back her tears. "Mr. Harold, have you tried to call him?" "Several times. But it always falls on that desk. Dr. Thompson is in surgery. Dr. Thompson is in a meeting. It's like I'm just another patient wanting to schedule an appointment." That night, Carla stayed late. I couldn't stop thinking about Harold. He decided to do something that could cost him his job. He called Michael, Dr. Thompson's office. "Hi, this is Carla, a nurse at Sunset Manor. I need to talk to the doctor about his father. One moment. Please?" After almost 10 minutes, Michael's impatient voice. "Hello? Did something happen to my father?" "Doctor, your father is not well. He spends the whole day waiting for the man at the window. He doesn't eat properly, he doesn't sleep." "Nurse, my father has Alzheimer's. It probably doesn't even remember that I exist most of the time." "With all due respect, doctor, your father does remember. He talks about you all day long. Show the photos, tell the stories. Look, I pay a fortune in this clinic precisely for you to take care of these issues. If my father is not eating, give him medication. If you are not sleeping, give them sedative. For that there are professionals." Carla felt anger rise up her chest. "Doctor, your father doesn't need medication. He needs his son." "Nurse, I saved 3 lives today. I have 2 surgeries tomorrow morning. My work is important. And the work of being a child." Embarrassing silence. "Don't call me for these things anymore," Michael said coldly. "If it's a medical emergency, call another doctor. If not, solve it there." The call was terminated. Carla was holding the phone, incredulous. The next day, Harold was at the window as usual. Carla approached with breakfast. "Were you able to talk to your child?" "Not yet, my daughter. But today it comes, I'm sure." Carla didn't have the courage to tell about the call. He just whispered, "I'm sure you do, Mr. Harold." 2 months have passed since Harold's hospitalization. Autumn was coming, and the leaves he saw from the window were beginning to turn yellow. And so was his hope, though he refused to admit it. "Today is Friday," Harold said to himself, adjusting his suit for the 100th time. Michael always said that Friday was the best day for visits. Fewer surgeries. Carla approached with lunch. She had become more than a nurse to Harold. She was his only real companion. "Mr. Harold, you need to eat something. Today there is the fish that you like. I'll eat when Michael arrives. I want to be awake to talk to him." Harold had lost almost 10 pounds. His suit, once tight, now hung loosely on his hunched shoulders. But every day she wore the same clothes, combed her thinning hair, and sat in the same chair. "Mr. Harold," Carla tried once more, "how about if we called your son, just to let you know that you're waiting?" Harold's eyes lit up. "Do you think you can try?" "Of course. I'm going to try it now." Carla dialed the number she already knew by heart. As always, it fell on the answering machine. But this time she left a message. "Dr. Thompson, this is Carla from Sunset Manor. Your father is very anxious waiting for your visit. He's not eating well and, well, I think it would be important for you to show up. Thank you." Harold waited all day. When night came, he asked, "Did he call you back?" Carla lied for the first time in 15 years of profession. "He said he'll try to come over the weekend." Harold's face transformed. He smiled like a child on Christmas morning. "I knew it. My son never abandons me." That weekend, Harold woke up at 5 in the morning. He took the longest shower of his life, shaved carefully, combed every strand of hair. He put on his suit and sat at the window, still in the dark. "It's going to be today," he murmured, holding the box. "I will deliver this letter personally." The hours dragged on. Other patients received visitors. Children, grandchildren, friends. Harold waved to each car that came into the parking lot, thinking it might be Michael. When it got dark, Carla approached with dinner. "Mr. Harold..." He must have had an emergency, Harold interrupted, his voice still firm. Saving lives. Tomorrow he comes. But on Sunday, Michael didn't come. Not even on Monday. Not even on Tuesday. It was on Wednesday that Harold began to change. Carla found him at the window, but something was different. He wasn't holding the box. "Mr. Harold, where's your box?" Harold looked at her with confusion. "What box?" "The box with Michael's photos." "Michael? Who is Michael?" Carla's heart sank. That's how Alzheimer's worked. It stole the most precious memories when the person needed them most. "Your son, Mr. Harold." "The doctor." For a moment, Harold's eyes lit up. "Oh yes, my doctor's son. Where is he?" He must be coming." Harold nodded and looked out the window again. But that day, for the first time in 2 months, he wasn't wearing the suit. He was in his pajamas with his hair unkempt. Over the next few days, Harold oscillated between moments of total lucidity and complete confusion. Sometimes I asked for Michael. Sometimes I didn't know who he was, but always went back to the window. "I'm waiting for someone," he said when asked. "I don't remember who, but it's important. Dr. Patterson called Carla to talk. How's Mr. Harold?" "Doctor, it is deteriorating rapidly. He doesn't eat. He doesn't sleep well. He stays in that window all day waiting for someone he doesn't even remember who he is." "And the son?" "He never called again. It never came," Dr. Patterson sighed. "I've seen this many times, Carla. Some people deal with their parents' illness by withdrawing completely. They think it's easier. Easier for whom, doctor? For them. Never stops the patient. That week, Harold had a crisis. He woke up in the middle of the night screaming for Michael. Carla ran to the room and found him crying like a child. "Where's my son?" "He promised that he would come." "He promised." "Mr. Harold, it's all right. Your son is working." "No, he abandoned me. Just like I did with him when I was little." Harold screamed between sobs. "I deserved it. I deserved it." Carla was shocked. It was the first time Harold had shown awareness of the real situation. "Mr. Harold, you don't deserve this. Nobody deserves it. I never went to his games. I never went to school graduations. There was always work. There was always something more important." Harold held Carla's hands tightly. "Now he's doing the same thing to me. Mr. Harold, that's not your fault. Yes, it is. I taught him that work comes first. What family can you expect? How he has learned well." Carla didn't know what to say. Harold was right, but to hear him admit it broke his heart. "Do you know what hurts the most?" Harold continued, calmer now. "It's just that I understand him. I would do the same thing." After that night, Harold became quieter. He still went to the window, but he didn't talk about Michael anymore. When they asked, he just said, "I'm waiting for someone important, but I don't think he's coming anymore." Dr. Patterson decided to make one last attempt. He personally called Michael. "Dr. Thompson, this is Dr. Patterson from Sunset Manor. Did something happen to my father?" "Doctor, your father is not well. He is very depressed, he hardly eats. A visit would be important." "Dr. Patterson, I pay an expensive clinic precisely for you to take care of these psychological issues. If my father is depressed, give me antidepressants." "Doctor, with all due respect, antidepressants do not replace the presence of the family." "Look, doctor, my father has Alzheimer's. He probably won't even remember if I go there or not. Why pretend it makes a difference?" "It makes a difference to you, Dr. Thompson. One day it will make a lot of difference." "Don't hook me up with that stuff anymore." Michael hung up. Dr. Patterson stared at his phone for a long time. In 20 years running the clinic, I had never found so much coldness in a child. 2 weeks later, on a Tuesday morning, Carla found Harold at the window as usual. But this time he was too still. "Mr. Harold? Mr. Harold?" There was no response. Harold had died in his sleep, sitting in his chair, looking out the window, waiting. In his hands was the box with Michael's memorabilia. Inside, in addition to the letter, there was a new photo, one that Carla did not know. It was Michael at the age of 5, smiling toothlessly, holding his father's hand. On the back, Harold's trembling lyrics, "For my son to remember when we were happy," and that's how Harold Thompson died. Waiting for a child who never came, holding a box of memories of a love that only he still remembered. Harold Thompson's wake took place on a grey Thursday morning. Michael arrived late, coming straight from a surgery that had gone on longer than expected. He wore the dark suit he wore on formal occasions, but there was something different about his face, a pallor that didn't just come from tiredness. The funeral home was small and discreet. Few people attended. Some neighbors, Mrs. Carmen, 2 colleagues from Harold's old job. Michael felt like an outsider there, watching people who knew his father better than he did. "My condolences, Doctor," said Mrs. Carmen, approaching with her eyes swollen from crying. "Your father spoke of you every day until the end." Michael just nodded, unable to speak. He walked to the coffin and stopped. Harold looked smaller, more fragile than he remembered. He wore the same suit he wore every day at the clinic, now carefully ironed by the funeral home staff. "He's looking at peace," commented a female voice behind him. Michael turned around. It was a middle-aged woman, gray-haired, wearing a nurse's uniform under her coat. "I'm Carla," she introduced herself. "Nurse at Sunset Manor. I've taken care of your father for the past few months." "Ah," Michael reached out mechanically. "Thank you for everything." Carla watched him for a moment before speaking again. "Doctor, can I talk to you privately?" Michael nodded, curious. They went to a more reserved corner of the room. "Doctor, I need to tell you a few things about your father's last days. Did he suffer? Was it painful?" "No, Doctor, not physically." Carla paused hard. "But you need to know that your father has spent the last 3 months waiting for you." Michael felt his stomach turn. "Nurse, I've already been explained about his routine at the window." "No, Doctor. You don't understand," Carla interrupted. "It wasn't just waiting. He planned the conversation he would have with you. He rehearsed what he was going to say. He prepared questions about his surgeries." Michael began to feel nauseous. "Your father made lists, Doctor. Lists of the things I wanted to tell you when you arrived. Stories from your childhood. Memories I wanted to share before Alzheimer's stole everything." "Why? Why are you telling me that?" "Because you need to know the truth." Carla took a crumpled piece of paper from her pocket. "I found this in his room after he died." Michael took the part. It was a list written in trembling handwriting, things to tell. Michael Dutt's story of when he had surgery. On the teddy bear. How proud he was on graduation. Day recipe for the chocolate cake he liked. Sorry for not going to the game, say I understand why he doesn't come to thank you for giving me the best life a father can have. Michael felt the tears rise. Did he really remember these things? "Doctor, can I tell you something that will hurt, but that you need to know?" Michael nodded, though every cell in his body screamed to get away. "In the last week, your father was very confused because of the medication. He no longer remembered his own name. He didn't recognize anyone. But do you know what he did?" Michael shook his head. "Every afternoon when you were supposed to get home from work, he was lucid again, as if the love for you was stronger than the disease." Tears began to roll down Michael's face. "And do you know what he said in those moments?" "What?" "My son must be saving someone very important. That's why you can't come and see me. But it's okay, I understand. I always understood." Michael collapsed. His knees weakened and he leaned against the wall, sobbing uncontrollably. "Doctor," Carla continued gently, "your father never held a grudge. Until the last day, he justified his absence. He said that you were too important to the world, that you couldn't waste time with an old man. Why didn't you force me to go?" "We tried, Doctor. We called dozens of times. His father asked him not to insist too much. 'My son already does a lot for me paying for the clinic,' he would say." Michael remembered all the calls he ignored, all the messages he deleted without listening. "There's one more thing," Carla hesitated. "The night before he died, his father had a moment of total lucidity. He called Dr. Patterson and asked to dictate a letter." "What letter?" "The one who is with you." "But it's not the only thing he left." Carla took a small package from her pocket. "That was hidden in his mattress. He said to deliver it only after the funeral." Michael opened the package with trembling hands. Inside was a simple but elegant Rolex and a card. "To Michael, the day he becomes a real doctor. A doctor who reminds us that healing people includes taking care of those who love us. Sorry it took me so long to understand that. Your father, who always believed in you." Michael looked at the clock and saw that it was engraved on the bottom, "To the doctor of my heart, Daddy." When did he buy that?" "It's been 2 years, Doctor. On the day of your specialization. He wanted to give it personally, but said you were too busy for gifts." Michael remembered the day. Harold had called to congratulate him, but he was celebrating with colleagues and said he would call later. "He never cared. Doctor, Carla put her hand on his shoulder. Your father knew he was going to die. The doctors only gave them a few months when they discovered the heart problem. What heart problem? Carla turned pale. Didn't you know? Did you know what? Doctor, your father had a serious heart disease. It was on the medical record. Dr. Patterson said he had explained. Michael felt the world spin. Nobody told me anything about heart problems. Doctor, are you sure? Because his father asked him not to undergo aggressive treatment. He said he would rather die peacefully waiting for his son than die in a hospital full of tubes. Reality fell on Michael like an avalanche. His father had been dying for months and he didn't know it. And even though he knew he was short on time, Harold chose to spend the last few days waiting for him instead of seeking treatment. Did he choose to die waiting for me? Doctor, your father said something I'll never forget. I'd rather die hoping to see my son than live without her. Michael fell to his knees right there in the middle of the funeral home. The cry that came out of her throat was primitive, animal, as if all the accumulated pain had finally found a way out. Other people approached. Worried, but Carla signaled for them to move away. Doctor, your father asked me to say one last thing if I ever met him. Michael raised his red eyes. He said, if my son ever feels guilty, tell me he gave me the only thing I really wanted in life, pride. Proud to be the father of the best man I've ever known. Michael screamed in pain. He finally understood that he had lost not only a father, but the chance to be the son Harold had always believed he was. And the worst part? Harold died thinking he was too busy saving lives to visit him. I never knew that Michael just didn't want to go. 6 months after the funeral, Michael was unrecognizable. The brilliant and ambitious doctor had transformed into a man haunted by ghosts that only he could see. He had left heart surgery, ironically the specialty that could have saved his father, and specialized in geriatrics. Now he worked in 3 different nursing homes, always volunteering, always available. Dr. Thompson called Nurse Isabel at the San Francisco home. Mr. Anthony is asking if you will visit him today. Of course. I'm already done here with Donna Maria, and I'm going to talk to him. Michael was helping an 89-year-old woman write a letter to her son who lived in another state. It was the 5th letter of the week. The son never answered. Doctor, Donna Maria held his hand tightly. Do you think my Rodrigo will come on my birthday? Michael looked into her eyes, filled with the same hope he had seen in his father's eyes, and felt his heart tighten. Donna Maria, I'm going to call him today, personally. No need to bother, Doctor. It's not a nuisance. It is necessary. Michael had created a routine that all his colleagues found obsessive. Every week he called the patients' families, not to talk about medical issues, but to remind them that they had someone waiting for them. Hello, Rodrigo. This is Dr. Thompson of the San Francisco home. Did something happen to my mother? No, she's fine. I call because tomorrow is her birthday and... Doctor, I've already told the nurses. I send money every month. I pay for an expensive clinic. Isn't that enough? Michael took a deep breath. I had heard this phrase dozens of times. Rodrigo, can I tell you as a son who went through the same situation? What do you mean? I lost my father 6 months ago. I thought just like you. I thought paying for the clinic was enough. Silence on the other side. And do you know what I found out at the wake? That my father died waiting for me. That he preferred to die waiting than to live without hope. Doctor, I have a job, a family. I can't go every week. I'm not asking every week. I'm asking tomorrow, someday, your mother's 90th birthday. Michael heard a long sigh. Does she really want me to go? Rodrigo, your mother wrote 5 letters to you this week. 5, all saying the same thing. That they understand that you are busy, that they don't have to worry about her, but that it would be the best gift in the world if you showed up. Another silence. I'll try. Rodrigo, don't try, go. Because after she dies, there will be no more attempts. The next day, Rodrigo showed up at the nursing home with a bouquet of flowers and an embarrassed expression. Michael watched from afar as Donna Maria saw him coming. Her cry of joy echoed throughout the hallway. My son. My son came! Donna Maria literally ran to hug Rodrigo. At the age of 90, he found strength that he did not know he still had. Mom, I'm sorry it took so long. It doesn't matter, my son. You are here now. That's all that matters. Michael pulled away so as not to disturb the moment, but tears rolled down his face. It was the scene he had never had with Harold. The conversation that never happened. Later, Rodrigo sought him out. Doctor, thank you for calling me. I didn't know she was like this, waiting so long. How do you feel? Well, I feel good for the first time in years. Rodrigo paused. You know, Doctor, she's so lucid, so happy. I thought that because of her age she wouldn't even remember if I came or not. Michael smiled sadly. They always remember love, Rodrigo, always. You said you lost your father. How was it? Michael told the whole story. The waiting at the window, the box of memories, the watch, the letters. Rodrigo listened in silence, his eyes increasingly wide. My God, Doctor, how do you manage to work here every day? It is the only way to honor his memory. Trying to prevent other children from going through what I went through. And does it work? Michael looked out the window of the asylum. In the garden, Donna Maria proudly showed the flowers to other patients, repeating to anyone who would listen, my son came on my birthday. My son remembers me. Sometimes, yes. And that is worth everything. 3 years have passed. Michael had created the Harold Thompson Foundation, which offered free transportation for family members to visit relatives in nursing homes. He also developed a program where volunteers adopted elderly people without family, ensuring that no one died completely alone. Dr. Thompson, Isabel approached one Friday afternoon. There is someone waiting for you at the reception. Michael went there and found Carla, the nurse at Sunset Manor. Carla. What a surprise. How are you? Well, Doctor, I actually came here for a specific reason. They sat in a reserved area. Doctor, there's one thing I never told you about your father. Michael felt his heart race. Last night, when he had the moment of total lucidity, he didn't dictate just one letter. What do you mean? He recorded a message on Dr. Patterson's cell phone. He asked to show it only if I ever thought you were ready to listen. Michael turned pale. A message? Doctor, for the way you have changed, for the work you're doing, I think the time has come. Carla took her cell phone out of her purse and put it on speakerphone. The voice that came out was faint but unmistakably Harold's. Michael, my son, if you're listening to this, it means that I've already died, and that someone thought you needed to hear these words. Michael covered his face with his hands. I want you to know that I don't hold any grudges. I know you are a doctor. I know you save lives every day. How could I be mad about that? The voice continued. Remember when you were little and said you were going to be a doctor to cure everyone? Well, you did it, my son. You heal people every day. And I'm so proud. Harold paused to cough. I know you may feel guilty for not visiting me. Don't feel it. You visited me every day in my memory. Every photo I looked at, every story I told, you were there with me. Michael couldn't stop crying. And you know what? Waiting for you was one of the most beautiful things I've ever done in my life. Because every time I sat in that window, I remembered how proud I am to be your father. Her voice grew weaker. Now listen carefully to what I am going to say. Do not let my death destroy you. Use it to be an even better doctor. To take care not only of people's bodies, but of their hearts as well. Harold coughed again. And Michael, one last thing. Forgive your father for not being present when you were a child. Forgive yourself for not being present when I was old. And you're going to live the life I've always dreamed of for you. A life full of love, of purpose, of meaning. The recording ended with Harold's whispered voice. I love you, my son, Doctor, forever. The silence at the reception was total. Michael cried openly, not caring who might see. Carla, he was able to finally say thank you. Thank you for giving me that. Doctor, your father knew exactly what a man you would become. He always knew. Michael nodded, holding the watch he never took off his wrist. You know, Carla, I finally understand what he meant by real doctor. What? It's not just about curing diseases. It's healing relationships. It is remembering that behind each patient, there is a family waiting, there is someone who loves that person. Michael stood up, wiped away his tears. And that's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I will make sure that no parent dies waiting, that no child lives with that guilt. 6 months later, Michael was at the grand opening of the 5th center of the Harold Thompson Foundation. In his speech, he said, my father taught me that love does not wait for convenience, that some opportunities don't come back, and that being a doctor isn't just about saving lives, it's about saving relationships, saving families, saving the chance to say, I love you before it's too late. He looked at the audience, full of families gathered. Today, 847 families have been reunited through our foundation. There are 847 children who will not carry the weight I carry. There are 847 parents who will not die waiting. Michael paused, ticking his watch. And I know that somewhere my father is proud. Not because I became a famous doctor, but because I finally became the son he always believed I was. The audience rose to their feet in applause. But Michael could only think of one thing, that he had finally found a way to say thank you to Harold. Not with words, but with actions. Not with visits he never made, but with lives he helped save every day. Love does not wait for convenience, and some lessons, as painful as they may be, can turn our pain into purpose, our guilt into redemption, our loss into legacy. The end comment, Eternal Harold. If this story has made you reflect on someone who may be waiting for you, and mark your comment with a heart. And just like the story of Michael and Harold, I have another exciting narrative waiting for you. Simply click on the next video to embark on yet another journey that will touch your heart. A big hug and see you there.